Hello everybody, this is RRPG here, and I'm here to present another 2 cents video on the 2 cents block for you all. And I'm sure a lot of you are wondering, what do I think about the Hyrule Warriors Direct that appeared back on Monday night? And sure, I'll talk about it with all of you, and I'm actually very excited to talk about it with all of you, but I hope you bear with me about what I have to say about the whole thing, as I'm going to be talking about everything from beginning to end, and then I will deliver my own final thoughts. I'll be talking about everything like basic gameplay, items, characters, stages, weapons, customization, the adventure mode, 2-player co-op, as well as the bonus segments that showcased Eiji Aonuma, the head producer of the Zelda series, with what he talked about for the game. So I will be talking about that as well. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with this puppy, shall we? So, they introduced the Hyrule Warriors Direct with Yosuke Hayashi, the head producer from Team Ninja within Tecmo Koei, and he is one of the producers of Hyrule Warriors, while Eiji Aonuma is the supervisor of the game. And they talked about the basic gameplay at first. Well, Hayashi did. He says that the main premise of the game is fighting enemies on maps, like traditional Musou fashion or traditional Warriors fashion that Tecmo Koei has been very well known for. And taking over bases will help boost the morale of not only your party, but it could also boost the morale for the enemies as well if they start to take over your bases too. And fighting bosses is what you need to do to complete certain levels in the game. Or I think that is the main objective for every level, is to defeat bosses. Kind of like how you have to defeat the head general of the enemy armies in both not Hyrule Warriors, but both Dynasty Warriors and Samurai Warriors. So, yeah, it's all traditional, just like you would see in a traditional Musou game. And now we get into the meat and potatoes with what the Zelda franchise has been all about, that is being applied to Hyrule Warriors. And one of them are the items. Items like bombs, bows and arrows, hook shots, as well as some of the other weapons that you can get from Ocarina of Time, as well as Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword, are possibly going to be present in this game as well. And you have to use those items in order to take down some of the bosses, like with the Dodongo, the King Dodongo. You have to use the bombs while using the bow and arrows to actually attack the parasitic Queen Goma. So yeah, there is that whole thing where you have to use certain items in order for you to defeat bosses. So that has carried on from past Zelda games into this one. So yeah, that's something that a lot of people who are fans of the Zelda franchise are really going to get acquainted with in Hyrule Warriors. Now let's take a look at some of the characters, or let's talk about them for that matter. Now for all the characters that they introduce, I am going to be implying what type of character they are, as well as what their traditional fighting style is. I like to envision the characters in Hyrule Warriors under 4 different archetypes, and one of them is under the category of a balanced character, the other is for fast and furious, the other is for magic based, and the other is for heavy hitter. And you pretty much know what all those are going to be like. Balanced character meaning they have balance in both defense, offense, as well as their health and other properties. Fast and Furious, I think they have the lowest health, or they have the highest health with low defense. No, it's the lowest health and low defense, but they can actually attack very, very fast and manage to defeat a lot of enemies very quickly in that matter. If you want to know what I'm talking about, then go play the Soul Calibur series and see somebody like Maxie, who has the nunchucks, who actually can attack very, very fast. So I think Zelda with the rapier is actually under that category for Hyrule Warriors. Impa, on the other hand, she looks like to be a heavy hitter character because she has a huge, great sword on her back. And she's going to be plowing a lot of enemies with a sword that looks very similar to Soul Edge or Nightmare from Soul Calibur. God, I'm bringing in so many similarities from Soul Calibur when I talk about the characters in Hyrule Warriors. And with Sheik, who is Zelda's alter ego, if you did not know that from Ocarina of Time, then I pity you. No, I'm just kidding. But Sheik is going to be a Fast and Furious character like Zelda. And Sheik is more of the ninja archetype. When you take a look at someone like Darunia, who is the Sage of Fire in Ocarina of Time, he is more of the heavy hitter character because he has the Goron hammer or the Megaton hammer as his primary weapon. And then you have Ruto, the Princess of the Zoras, who is more of a magic-based character because she can actually use the magic of the Zoras in order to do more damage to her enemies, or to do damage to her enemies with water-based elements. And then we go to Twilight Princess, where Midna, Agatha, and Zant originate from. And Midna, I think, is going to be either a balanced character or it's going to be a magic-type character. I'm thinking possibly magic-type because she is using the ability of her magic from the Twilight Realm to actually do damage to her enemies. So I'm thinking that's the archetype that they're going for, the Princess of the Twilight Realm. And Agatha, the Bug Princess from Hyrule Town, I think she is going to be more of a, I would like to say, a balanced character, or she could possibly be a magic type character, but I'm thinking she's probably going to be the magic type because she is probably going to have the bugs, or the insects that are under her command actually do the talking for her in battle. And Zant, I'm thinking is going to be more of either the balanced or heavy hitter character, but we'll have to see how that goes. But you see him flailing his arms, and you know how big Zant is in Twilight Princess and how they portray him in Hyrule Warriors. So I'm thinking that's the direction that they're going to take the false king of the Twilight Realm in this game. Now let's go to Skyward Sword. We have two characters. They are both Fi and Girahim. Fi, who is the spirit of the Master Sword, looks like she is going to be either a balanced or a magic-based character. But I'm thinking she might be a balanced character because most of the attributes from the Master Sword actually has more of a balanced type of archetype when Link uses it in battle. So I'm thinking that's going to reflect onto Fi when she fights in battle, but I could be mistaken on this. But for Girahim, on the other hand, he's going to be more of the Fast and Furious type of character, because if you notice how fast he was in Skyward Sword, then you pretty much know what I'm talking about from right there, because he attacks very fast, and he moves very fast, and he jumps forward or dashes very fast from his current position to another one. And then we have Lana, the only original character in Hyrule Warriors, and she is the magic-based character because she's more the mage type with that book that she has, as well as bringing about cubes with her, or anything that does with anything that involves organic matter that she can portray, like walls or cubes from her magic or whatnot. So yeah, she's the magic-based character that we are going to see in that game, and she has a very prominent role in the original storyline for Hyrule Warriors, so I'm very curious to know what all she's going to be used for in that game. Now let's go ahead and talk about some of the stages, and it looks like most of the stages we're going to be seeing are going to be from Ocarina of Time, Twilight Princess, and Skyward Sword, as seeing how Hyrule Warriors directly pays tribute to those three games in the main franchise. Now it kind of bums me that they're not bringing in a level or certain levels from the Wind Waker or from past Zelda games, but then again, with the Wind Waker, who would want to battle in the sea? I mean, I know I would, but I probably would see that a lot of people wouldn't really be in favor of that. But for some other places, like some temples and stuff, yeah, I could definitely see that working. But just the stages based on Ocarina of Time, Twilight Princess, and Skyward Sword, that's kind of selfish if you ask me. But then again, I'm going to enjoy it regardless, but I'm just finding it to be a bit selfish that, that Nintendo and Tecmo Koei are actually paying tribute to the Zelda games that actually have more of a realistic sense. Because, a lot of Westerners who really enjoy the Zelda franchise tend to go for more of that Western, or favor of realism. But for me, I like all types of graphical styles, or how games are portrayed in different fashions. I really like that about all games in the Zelda series. They don't need to be fully realistic in order to be good. I mean, even the ones that are cartoon-based, like the Wind Waker, are still pretty good within their own narratives. Now let's take a look at some of the weapons that each character can have. And each character, while they have their own traditional base weapons, they can actually have newer ones that are different from the normal ones to change them into different archetypes as well. With Link, he has the Magic Rod, which has the power of fire, so that would make him a magic-based character. And he also has the power glove, where he has the 2 huge gloves that he wears on his arms, as well as the huge ball and chain that you actually saw from Twilight Princess. So that's going to make him a heavy hitter character instead of having something like the Megaton Hammer, which the Megaton Hammer, if you played Soul Calibur 2 with Link on the GameCube, that was a pretty powerful weapon to use. So I could actually see why they would probably want to go with the Power Glove instead of just using the Megaton Hammer, because Darunia is actually using the Megaton Hammer for himself. And Zelda also has the Wind Waker on her, which I'm thinking that's probably going to make her more of a magic-based user. And Impa is also going to be using the Naginata instead of just the giant sword that she has. So that's probably going to make her either a balanced or a Fast and Furious type of character with using that spear with the curved blade on it. So it's interesting to know that each character is going to have their own different archetypes surrounding them instead of just being one base archetype, because I like that diversity in the whole game, because it really makes the experience more fun instead of just being fully stale with what weapons that they only can have to themselves instead of just, trying out different ones. But you get what I mean. Now let's talk about the customization. Customization has also been a very prominent figure in the Musou games, and finding items in the game like certain pieces of armor, as well as certain items that will give you different stat boosts to your weapons, as well as your health and your armor and that kind of stuff. And I think I also mentioned weapons, but finding items like that in the game or within the maps, within treasure chests, as well as like pots and boxes and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, you can actually use those items to boost up his or her own skill tree, whether if it's in stats or whether if it's in certain abilities for their own weapons and that kind of stuff. So I actually really like that. It just shows that the game actually kind of is taking more of a page from I would like to say Zelda 2 The Adventure of Link, especially with how you manage to grow Link with that experience point system. I really like that about the customization within Hyrule Warriors from what is shown. Now let's take a look at the adventure mode. The adventure mode is one of the new things that they mentioned in the game, and what you can do is travel on a map that resembles that of the original NES game, the original Legend of Zelda, to complete objectives in order to complete the whole map in general. And completing the different maps and completing the different types of objectives as well as enemies that you have to fight, they will reward you with very rare and sometimes very mandatory rewards, like certain weapons or even heart pieces to increase your health for certain characters that they can use in the main story. And speaking of which, adventure mode is the only thing within Hyrule Warriors that's going to be online. It's going to have some sort of online connectivity, because with the adventure mode, you can actually go to certain places within the map that may actually have places where your friends from Miiverse, as well as from those that are within your friends list on your Wii U, have actually visited. And if they're having trouble with that certain part of the adventure mode, then you can actually help them, and sometimes they will even reward you with even more rare items than what you can normally get through playing the adventure mode in solo fashion. And that's another thing too that I also want to talk about, is going to the 2-player co-op feature. Now, the 2-player co-op feature was originally announced to be online for the main story, but now it's the complete opposite, as it's going to be local co-op only, as well as instead of not being it online. And for me, I feel that no online to 2-player co-op within the main story is a huge downer, as it would have benefited the experience, as well as it really does benefit the experience in the other Warriors games that most of us have played. And some form of online, as I said, is there, but it's only in the adventure mode. And I'm not sure if it's also going to equate to leaderboards and whatnot for the different levels that you play, but I could be mistaken on that too. But I highly doubt it, since it's only going to be available for adventure mode. And something with the online that Nintendo is not doing for most of their games in this day and age is something that I've also wanted to talk about, but I'm probably going to be saving that for another 2 cents video, as it's probably going to be one of a rant instead of me talking about why they should or should not include online in their games. But I'm thinking now is probably the time that they need to start incorporating online more into some of their games. but then again, I am still gonna enjoy the games even if they do not have online play. But I'm just saying that they really should get more ambitious with trying to achieve that feat within future games. But that's all I'm saying. Now let's talk about the last thing, and that's the AG Anima segments. The first time he talks about cuckoos, the chickens that are in the Zelda games ever since A Link to the Past up until now, will be appearing in the game, and if you attack them, they will come after you like they normally do in traditional Zelda fashion, or they can even help you in their favor with like attacking enemies or even attacking bosses. So they can either be on the good side or on the bad side when it comes to them appearing within battle. And grass cutting from past games will also be in the game from the main mode as well as the others, and you can find hidden items and such, or even health restoration items or magic restoration items. So that's good that they're keeping in that attention to detail with the past games into this one. I like that. And another thing that they're actually bringing in, which I was very surprised with, are the bomb chews from Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, because we all know that the bomb chews are those rat-like bombs that will go forward to actually trigger an explosion within a set distance, or even hit enemies that are within a set distance in order for Link to reach enemies within a distance that he would not be able to reach from within on foot. So yeah, it looks like bomb chews are going to be playing a much bigger role in Hyrule Warriors, as they're pretty much going to be used for that matter, as well as opening pathways for you to make it to other parts of the levels in order to take down enemy bases to reclaim as yours. And the next thing that Aonuma talked about are the gold Skulltulas from Ocarina of Time, as they will appear in the game to where you can obtain them within the levels, and they will reward you and all the players with illustration pieces upon finding them. And it looks like Nintendo is going to incorporate art assets as well as some other goodies with the illustration pieces that you find from the gold Skulltulas in this game. So I like that they're adding a bit more of replay value with trying to get all those little extras. I really like that about games. And the Chain Chomp from Link's Awakening, known as Bow Wow, is also going to be a weapon skin for the Power Glove for Link's weapon. And I thought that was actually pretty cool, because I really like that feature within Link's Awakening where you can actually use Bow Wow, the Chain Chomp, to actually take down those enemies to get over to the second dungeon in the game. So I thought that was actually a nice bit of I thought that was a nice puzzle that actually worked in order to get past some of those harder parts in order for you to get to your next destination. Now let's take a look at the moon from Majora's Mask. As we all know, the moon in Majora's Mask represents the end of Termina, but Link can summon the moon from Majora's Mask with the Power Glove, and he throws his chain ball at a very far distance, and then he uses it to repel to where the chain ball is, and then all of a sudden he throws the chain ball in the air, and he manages to grab the moon and pluck that moon down at his enemies to do really high damage. So I really like, that was something that just kind of caught me off guard. I mean, we all know that the moon from Majora's Mask is a really deadly entity, and Majora's Mask, or Majora actually being a very deadly boss. So yeah, I was kind of surprised to see that the moon is actually going to be used for something that sinister for even the most heroic character like Link in the game. So I thought that was actually pretty funny. Now the last character that was introduced in Hyrule Warriors was, of course, Ganondorf. And a lot of people were wondering where Ganondorf was. And when you take a look at Ganondorf, he looks like a Super Saiyan 3 figure from Dragon Ball Z, but he has red hair instead of just golden yellow hair. And I know a lot of people are making comparisons with Ganondorf in Hyrule Warriors to that of either Super Saiyan 3 Goku or Super Saiyan 3 Broly from the Raging Blast games on the PS3 and the 360. For me, I think it's actually pretty funny, but I also like to think of him kind of a different alternative skin for the Demise, the final boss in Skyward Sword. So I think that's the type of feeling that they are giving Ganondorf for Hyrule Warriors this time around. And the last thing that was brought up after the Hyrule Warriors Direct was finished was that they are bringing about DLC costumes for Link, Zelda, as well as Ganondorf from Ocarina of Time and Twilight Princess, and as well as Skyward Sword. But I don't think Ganondorf is going to have a form from Skyward Sword. If he is, then they probably are going to bring in his Demise or bring in his costume as the Demise from Skyward Sword. So I'm thinking that that is what they're going to bring for his character if they decide to go for the Skyward Sword approach for Ganondorf. But I don't think they're going to do that, as they're probably just going to stick with Ocarina of Time as well as Twilight Princess. But for Link and Zelda, they are pretty much what you would expect from all three games that I've talked about. Okay, guys, now let's go ahead and talk about my final thoughts. The Hyrule Warriors Direct, from what I saw, was very informative, and there were some things that we didn't know, while most of the others that we already knew, which was something that I was kind of down by, but it was good to know that we were getting the whole complete package as to what to expect within the whole game. So that's what I like about the Nintendo Directs in general, especially the ones that are only on solo games, like the Wonderful 101. I was very happy to know what all we were getting for that game before it released, and now I'm very satisfied with what we are getting for Hyrule Warriors. And the surprises like Chain Chomp or Bow Wow was also pretty cool, but you know, it's just a few surprises like that. I was like, that is awesome. But for most others, it's just like there didn't seem to be that much except for what we already know. And I will say, for the most part, I hope that there is more for the game even after launch, such as new DLC for some of the characters, like new costumes or even newer weapon types, or just something that will actually bring in more incentive for people to actually use the bonus features in Hyrule Warriors instead of just it being a complete package, even though Hyrule Warriors is going to be a complete package game regardless. But, you know, hopefully there is something new in the works when it comes to DLC. But, you know, that's up to Nintendo, whether if it's something like newer characters or newer items or, you know, newer stages, even from Zelda games that are not being brought about from you know, that are already in this game, that were from other games that were not brought in towards Hyrule Warriors. But, you know, that's kind of a long stretch, but it's up to Nintendo as well as Tecmo Koei, but we'll have to see what that goes. So, overall, Hyrule Warriors Direct, it was good, but there was a lot of things that we already knew about, so I will say it was just good for the most part. I mean, it was really great. I mean, it wasn't super fantastic like with the Nintendo Digital event, but it was still a great Nintendo Direct in the long, regardless. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to whatever next Nintendo Direct that they have coming out, but hopefully it'll be one where we get some newer games that are introduced instead of what we already know, because Nintendo still needs to be pumping out those games in order for us to get our money out of our wallets, right? Well, we'll have to see where they go from here. But I'm sure they have something planned, but let's just leave it to them, guys. And other than that, that's all I have to say about the Hyrule Warriors Direct. So I want to know what you guys think. What did you like about the Hyrule Warriors Direct? Or what did you not like about it? Or are there some things that you wish will come for the game even after its launch? Make sure to rate this video as well as leaving your positive and negative feedback down in the comments. Also be sure to hit that subscribe button underneath that video, as more support from you guys means that more content is coming from me in the future that you won't even find anywhere else. And until next time, this is Double RPG signing off by saying Godspeed and Game On, gamers. Have a good one.